Hi, welcome back to my channel. We don't really think about our curriculum vitae during the MD, but towards the end of the MD, it hits us really hard. It can get really scary and intimidating to draft a CV. However, don't worry, I've got you covered. So I'll discuss the various steps of how to draft a CV and what are the different kinds of information that you can include in your CV. Towards the end of this video, I've also included a snapshot of a format for a CV that you can use and draft your own CV based on. It's the document that you will be sending out to different job applications, which your future employer will have a look at, and based on the CV, they will call you for an interview. So the ultimate goal of a CV is to get you that interview so that you can actually go there in person and answer all those questions and impress them in person. CV is a professional document. So it is expected that it's not too bright and colorful. It doesn't have a lot of pictures. It's usually white, simple, and straightforward. The kind of fonts that I used are usually Arial, Times New Roman, or something like Kaale. We don't use fonts which include a lot of curly handwritings. I mean, although trust me, I also like curly handwritings. Another thing about the CV that's really important is not to lie or embellish your skill set in any way in your CV. It's important to remember that you've just completed your MD psychiatry, right? So at this point of time, your employers are also not expecting a very fancy CV or a CV that is extremely impressive. So they know the kind of skills that are taught during MD psychiatry course. If you lie, it doesn't look good and it can affect your professional integrity at a later point. The first one is your personal information and your contact information. Now, this is common for all CV. It basically includes information like your name, age, gender, what's your contact address, your mobile number, your email ID, information like that. This is so that once you send out your job application, your future employer can get in touch with you and can communicate with you regarding the interview and things like that. Now, a very important point that you can include in your personal information, especially in the context of psychiatry, is the languages that you speak really well. And if you can also write certain languages, that's also really useful. The reason why is in psychiatry, as you know, history taking is a very important skill. And if you don't know the language, then that becomes very difficult. Another aspect is therapy, doing research. All of this requires an understanding of the local language. So more the number of languages you know, it can act as a bonus in your CV. Make sure to include your ORCID ID or your ResearchGate ID. Now, suppose if you have 1 or 2 publications, make sure you open a ResearchGate ID, include those publications there, and then you can add that in your CV. Now, people have different kinds of career goals. It could be something like you're interested in providing clinical care for sick patients. It could be something like you want to teach. It could be in research. So depending upon what your area of interest is and in which direction you see your career headed, you can determine your career objectives. I'll include a few sample statements that you can use to include under your career objectives. The next section is your academic qualifications. In your academic qualifications, basically you include details of where you passed your 12th, where you passed MBBS, where you pass your MD. You can also include your marks. Suppose if you've done really well, especially include what was your marks and also include whether you've got any gold medal. In the context of awards, even during your MD, some of you might have got Outstanding Student Award. There's also a psychotherapy award. There are quiz awards. You can include all of this also under your academic qualifications. Under the section of clinical experience, you can include your internship details and any other job positions that you have held. I'll include the format as follows. The next section is your experience in research. This is particularly useful if you're applying for teaching institute or research positions. If you're applying for a hospital where you're just going to see patients, it may not be very valid. Now, suppose if you've done a little bit of research in your MD, make sure to include your publications here. It could be a letter to editor, case report, anything like that in the Vancouver format. You can just list it as 1, 2, 3, and so on. Even if you have not done it, don't worry. You can include your thesis topic as research experience under this heading. See, when you work on your thesis, you're spending 3 years on a particular topic. So it is kind of understood that whichever topic you did your thesis on, you're kind of an expert in that particular topic. Let's say you've sent a couple of articles out to journals and they're under review process. Then you can put a subsection called as under review And you can include the articles which you have sent for publication, but it is still under review. That you can include in this section. The next section is, suppose if you have attended any CME, any workshop, or any training courses. Now, as a part of MD itself, according to NMC, it is expected that you do a poster presentation and you do a paper presentation, right? So you would have attended some CME where you would have participated, presented a poster or a paper. You can include those details in this section. If you have won an award for that poster or a paper, you can include that as well. Also, these CMEs may have had quizzes. You might have participated in those quizzes. They would have usually given you a participation certificate. Make sure that you attach a copy of that certificate along with your CV. The third thing is, many times in MD, it is compulsory that you undergo training courses or workshops. Now, you might have undergone a research workshop, especially in biostatistics, you might have undergone a workshop. You might have also had opportunities to attend workshops like ICD workshops, or you might have attended how to read an EEG, how to read an MRI, these kind of workshops which are affiliated to psychiatry. If you have attended any of this, you can include it in this section also. At the end of the workshop, they would have given a certificate again. Make sure you attach a copy of that as well. The next is academic experience and community experience. Now, you would have taken classes for undergraduates, right? So how many hours of undergraduate classes have you taken and which were the topics that you covered? You can also include information about the camps that you have gone for. Now, every institute, to serve the local area, they would have arranged camps. Now, as a PG student, you would have accompanied your consultant to these camps where you would have done some work, like you would have screened patients, you would have given a talk, you might have done some sort of a psychoeducation session, some sort of a training session, something like this you would have done, right? You can request the consultant who organized the camp for a statement or a certificate which says that so-and-so attended a camp on this particular date and they did this work in this camp. So if you have a statement like that, it's really useful. The next section is special areas of interest. Suppose within psychiatry, you have some special areas of interest. Make sure to include that. You may be interested in child psychiatry. You may be interested in peripartum. If you have some interest like that, and if you have worked for a couple of hours in that clinic, make sure you include that information as well. Now see, all psychiatry departments in different universities, they're trying to expand and provide specialized services. So suppose if they are interested in opening a peripartum clinic or a geriatric clinic, and you are a candidate who is interested in pursuing research or pursuing clinical services in that particular field, you might be a perfect match for that university. In this section, you can also include if you have any extracurricular interests. Although this is not mandatory, suppose if you're interested in swimming or basketball or something like that, you can always include it because it kind of reflects that you're a balanced individual. Like I said, this is not mandatory, but it's fun to include this in your CV. The last section, which is very, very important, which a lot of people forget, is your references. Oh my God, I have been in the other side of this when my institute have got applications and CVs for job positions and they've not included references, and it becomes so difficult to actually check if this person was a responsible and diligent employee or not. So employers would like to check this, right? So include 2 references. Before you include somebody's name and contact information in your reference, you always speak to them first, take their permission, and then include it. Good person to include in your CV as a reference would be your professor who you work closely with. For example, your guide who helped you in your thesis, you can include them, but give them a heads up that they may get a call from potential employers. Okay, we are at the end of the video, and make sure to attach a few templates as I told initially in the video. And also make sure to include some other resource material in the description box, which you can use to get an understanding of what is a CV and how you can draft your own CV. If you guys like this video, then make sure to subscribe. It really helps motivate me to continue to produce such videos so that we can help you out and we can share information. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye.